Hey guys, and welcome to the very first video of the Natural Birth Show. I'm Rachel Manns. I run the Natural Birth site, and this is our corresponding YouTube channel, and I'm so excited that you're here and that you found us. And today we are going to talk about physiological birth, which corresponds with our first podcast, the Natural Birth Talk, so you can check that out too. But I'm here on my grandma's farm, and actually, let me take these off. That doesn't look so great in a video, but now I need to find some shade. So, kind of walking around, you can see my grandma's farm in the background. I think that, kind of being here on this farm is almost like the perfect place to be to talk about physiological birth for just a minute. Because if you really think about it, my grandma doesn't have animals on her farm anymore, but she used to have a lot of animals. And so obviously this is a place that physiological birth took place, right? Because animals, they give birth all the time, every day, and it has to be physiological. No one really comes in and helps them. I mean, there's some vets maybe, I don't know, but they trust their bodies and they know how to give birth to their babies instinctually. And that's what physiological birth is, right? As humans, we used to do the exact same thing. We used to just trust our bodies and let our bodies have babies the way nature intended. And that's why I just think it's so fitting we're here on this farm. And now, sitting here and talking about physiological birth. So let's define physiological birth. Let me backpedal for a second. Physiological birth, okay, that is trusting our bodies to birth our babies in the way that nature intended. So I kind of already said that, right? But that's our official definition that we're going to go with on this video, okay? So with that being said, like I said, physiological birth, it doesn't just apply to animals like that happened here on my grandma's farm. It applies to humans too. And so one of the huge things that we want to explore and talk about and really encourage and teach about is, bug, that's what happens when you're on a farm, is how humans can have an experience and should have an experience physiological birth as well. Our bodies know how to do this. Our babies know how to be born. Across all mammals, all animals, humans included. And I just think that is such an important topic for people to understand and such a great thought process to understand in order to empower you to have a physiological birth. So anyway, that's just kind of, that's what physiological birth is. So I guess we can go into a few interventions that maybe could happen that don't really fit physiological birth. And things like a Pitocin induction that's not medically indicated. And even the term medically indicated is kind of a gray area. But that wouldn't really fit physiological birth, right? Maybe having your bag of water broken, instead of letting it release naturally, that's kind of a gray area. Honestly, that's such a simple thing to do that maybe cultures have been doing that forever. I don't know. And so maybe that could fit into physiological birth, and it'd definitely be a better option if it's between that and Pitocin. Breaking your water would be a more physiological, more natural option than having Pitocin. But that's an intervention that could interfere with physiological birth either way. And then something like cutting the umbilical cord right away. Once the baby's born, that umbilical cord should be left pumping. Evidence shows that cord should be left for at least a minute, but honestly even longer. And in the wisdom of our ancestors in the traditional cultures, a lot of them leave that cord till it falls off on its own. That's called a lotus birth. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But that cord is at least usually left in these natural cultures, these traditional cultures, until the placenta delivers or until it stops pumping, or at least for some extended period of time, right? So cutting the cord right away, that might interfere with physiological birth. There's so many other topics. If you want to hear more about physiological birth, just go ahead over to my podcast, which is the Natural Birth Talk, and you can check out our physiological birth. And you can also check out the Natural Birth blog, which is on my website, www.thenaturalbirthsite.com. You can go check that, and you can check out the blog, and it has a whole bunch of natural and physiological birth stories you can check out too. So that's all I'm going to say about physiological birth for now. Again, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of the Natural Birth Show, and hopefully I'll see you guys later.